Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bag Lady Unloaded. I'm Nick, the Poetic Nomad, and today we're going to be talking about my first time moving across the country when I was 17 and by myself. So because this is a love story, I'm going to start off at the beginning. I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. When I was about 9 or 10, my parents decided to move to Georgia. Although I think I was kind of crushed because I had two really close friends that had, gone from kindergarten up until that point with me. I was excited because, I don't know, something about me has always loved a good, open horizon. And so we get there and I immediately fall in love with Georgia. It was very lush and green, and I just remember how behind our home there was a wooded area. And I would run back there with the kids from the neighborhood, and we would just pretend that, there were monsters after us. We would pretend a patch was like quicksand, or we just had some really good times. And so, for whatever reason, it didn't work out for my parents in Georgia, and they wanted to move back home to Milwaukee. And I just was really pissy. I think I probably took like a week of just like praying, like, please, I hope they, change their minds. I really want to stay here. I made a new best friend. She was really nice and sweet, and I loved her parents. But it didn't happen, and we moved back to Georgia, and I can remember, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so I can remember on the way home, I'm like sitting in the back seat of the car, and I'm like, when I turn 18, I'm going to be moving back to Georgia. And they're laughing at me and, just not really caring about my attitude. But I was so serious, and it wasn't that I was just serious, it's that I could actually see myself moving back there when I turned 18. So fast forward maybe like a year later, and I meet a boy. And this boy was the uncle of a friend that I had just made. And I was smitten with this boy right away. But he had a violent kind of love. And what I mean by that is, how sometimes boys like you when you're younger and they like to, hit you. And so he was this kind of boy. He set the dog loose on me. His dog loose on me and watched me run around a house and cry. And there was one time a fire hydrant was open in our neighborhood, and the water was just pouring out in a really weird way. So I was scared to go in, and all the other kids were just jumping in and out of the water because it's just water. But it just looked so intimidating that I was just standing on the sidelines like, I don't want to get in. I don't want to get in. And he comes up from behind me and pushes me down, and I fall, and my tooth comes out my mouth. Now, my eyes are closed, but I feel my tooth is missing, so I feel around with my eyes closed, I'm not gonna miss out on any money from the tooth fairy. Where is this tooth? I don't think I even believed in the tooth fairy. At this point, I'm sure I didn't. I just knew that you got money for, teeth. So I wanted my dollar. And I didn't even cry about it until I got home. And then, of course, when I got home, I'm like, Mom, he pushed me down. My tooth came out. And she's just brushing it off that just means he likes you. um, we went on and had that strange relationship for a few years until I was 15. We decided to date. And this was a hardcore love right off the bat. It was intense, and I had to be near him by any means necessary. He had went off to Job Corps, which was this program that people 16 to 24 could go to, and they basically got prepped for a job. It was for people who didn't have like a high school diploma. And so he was there. He went there when he turned 16. I was still 15, and we kind of did the long distance thing. For a second, wrote letters. He saw me on his breaks. Like, he spent the whole Christmas vacation with me at my house. And when he decided to give up Job Corps because he was bored or, whatever, he was kind of a knucklehead. And so when he gave up, he came home to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a little bit before his family decided to send for him because they'd already went to Georgia. And I did not want to be without him again. I was obsessed at this point. I think we both were very obsessed with each other. And so it only took maybe a year after he left before my 18th birthday. I was maybe 17 in a few months. And I'm just like, Mom, you have to let me go. I love him. This sky is not blue without this guy. Like, I need him. And she was kind of hurt because she was kind of going through something at that time. And, she kind of felt like I only cared about this guy. And, looking back, I can definitely see why. But I just needed to, forge my own path. And so she let me go. She was so mad. She kind of threw $100 at me and was like, just go. And I literally bought my ticket and left. I didn't care that it wasn't enough to do anything but buy a Greyhound ticket to Georgia. I spoke with his dad, and I was there. I didn't even tell him I was coming. What this trip taught me back then, I think, is that the grass isn't greener on the other side, which is a very basic lesson. But it was my first lesson as an adult, being someone who's 17 and moving 800 miles away from all of my family to be with someone else's family. The grass was definitely not greener on the other side, because although his dad accepted me, his sisters and his mom, I just was not their favorite person. And they had watched me grow up. At that point, they'd known me since I was 10 years old. And I think I was okay then, but they were really uncomfortable with me being his girlfriend. And so that caused a lot of problems. But I don't know, I got through it. Another thing that I obviously learned is to be more calculated in all of the trips that I took after that. Of course, I was 17. I was really reckless. I'm like, oh, who cares? I only have $100. And eventually I did get a job, and I did get my own place, but it was not right away. And it was very hard, but it taught me to grow up. And now when I make moves, I'm way more calculated. So those are just basic lessons I learned. But I think the biggest lesson that I still hold in my subconscious mind is that if you make a decision, the universe backs you up. Because how I look at that story is that I was 9 years old making a decision that I would move to Georgia when I was 18. And it didn't happen when I was 18. It actually happened before. But I think that's because when you decide, when you are decisive about what you want to do, the universe is there to back you up. And that's not the same to say that if I would have said something like, oh, I want to move back to Georgia, that's very different from saying I'm going to do it. Because when you say I want to do, there's still resistance in a way. You can say, I, want to go after this, but, this and this isn't right, or that's in my way. But when you say I'm going to do this, you mean that by any means necessary. And that's what I felt in that moment. Even being a little girl, I was like, I know I am going back to Georgia. And it happened. Yes, I met a boy. Yes, I fell in love. Teenage love story, right? But it still happened. And so I hope that in my head all the time when I'm thinking about manifestation is that you have to be very decisive in your choices, because it matters, especially if you want the help of the universe. I think that's all I have for today, guys. Thanks for watching.